know what I mean? No one's really talking about how bad Liverpool are because they've been terrible, but it's kind of going under the radar because everyone's focused on Arsenal and Man City. Do you know what I mean? It's gone under the radar. Like Chelsea are bad, but I feel like they're not getting the abuse that they deserve because if that was us, like Potter would not be getting like the sympathy. Like even in the press conferences when they're speaking to Potter and stuff like that, if he was Man United manager and he had that record, bro, like oh my days, they would have chucked him out, bro. Like there's no way that he wouldn't be sitting there now because the pressure, he would have quit. Do you know what I mean? If he thinks he's under pressure now, if he was in the United hot seat and he was losing those games, he would have had to resign.
Do you know the funny thing? Two things for what you said there. The first thing is, I feel like Chelsea and Liverpool being as bad as they have been this year has completely changed the dynamic of that top four. That if Chelsea and Liverpool sort it out, I don't think we're going to see that dynamic again. Right? I'm just putting that out there. Secondly, I don't know what to think anymore with this Potter stuff because about a month ago, Rants, I was sitting there saying, you know, I felt sorry for him, like give him time, this, that, the other. Then I messaged you the other night and I was like, if I said to you on the show last week as well, if he loses to Spurs, I'm 100% convinced he'll be sacked because you can't win 2 in 15 and they can't lose to Spurs. They used to call it 3-point lane. But the thing is, the noise is coming out of the club today that they're still not going to.
You know what it is? I think maybe they're speaking to someone else and they haven't got the assurances from them that they're going to leave because they've been linked with a Napoli manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, again, look, football with rumours, with reports, we take them with a pinch of salt, right? But The Athletic did a piece today about how that Bowley said, Potter's not going anywhere. He's sticking by him. And it was basically, it was a good article actually, because it was basically saying this is either the craziest, stupidest thing in football, or in a year's time, it will be an absolute masterstroke. He said,
yeah,
I was thinking, look, I mean, for you, Rants, right? We both thought he'd go after this defeat. How his next 2 games are Dortmund at home in the Champions League where they're 1-0 down, and then Leeds at home.
He gets knocked out the Champions League, and then he loses his job. Like that's the only way I can see
he's
it.
He's got to, hasn't he? I mean, listen, I love a fairy tale story. I mean, look, again, forget it's Chelsea. I love a fairy tale story. I'd love to sit here in a year and see a smug Potter at a Chelsea training ground after winning 8 games in a row or something. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
I just feel now I've come around to your way of thinking that I feel like they're just in such a mess. And again, we talked about this last week, Rants. He made 6 changes again for the game. You cannot make 5 to 6 changes a game. It's, if you're Man City, I'm not saying this year, but if you're Man City and you're swapping out Grealish for Foden and Silva for Gundogan, and you know what I mean? All right, you might get away with it. But Chelsea, again, like, I don't know. They had a lot of the ball in the first half against us, right? They had a lot of the football. Fernandes and Loftus-Cheek had all the ball, but at not any point, and bear in mind I'm a Spurs fan, right? At no point was I worried. I didn't feel at any point that they were going to breach us. Every time they tried to play a through ball to Havertz, I thought, Havertz ain't a striker, I'm not worried.
Yep. Like, and he don't have pace like that. Like,
not worried, yeah. And I don't know. I think he's all over the place. I think his head looks like he's all over the place. I don't think he knows what his best 11 is. I feel like for the Dortmund game, he needs to go back to basics. Just put your best 11 out there. Put them
in their best positions as well.
Right. You know what I would do if I was them? I would swallow my pride as well. I would get Aubameyang up front. I'm not saying he's the be all and end all, but he's a centre forward.
Yeah, at least he knows the job. This Kai Havertz false 9 thing, it's not working, mate. I'll be honest. Like, you just have to go back to basics, innit? Like that's 100%. It's even a Lukaku thing, bruv. Might as well bring him back. Like, Inter don't want him. I think they didn't put him in one of their squads or something like that. Just go get him back. Just beg, fam. Like, I'll be honest, because that's where they are right now.
Yeah, and somebody saw in your chat, apologies, I said, Aubameyang's not in the Champions League squad. He's not been registered. But for me, for me, go back to basics. If I was them, I would keep the midfield two at the moment of Loftus-Cheek and Fernandes. I would get Mason Mount, Raheem Sterling doing all the doggy work in front of them, all the running with Felix pulling some strings, and then just go Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Badiashile, and James, and stop messing with it.
Yeah,
but hey, man, I listen. It's good to see. It's almost. I don't know about you, right? If I take my Spurs hat off and if I look at it from a football point of view, it's almost sad to see what's happening there. It's almost like
Chelsea.
Yeah, I feel for the man. I do. I feel like it's not.
See, that's how I know you're a better man than me, you know. I'm a bastard. I'm enjoying this, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I'm enjoying this. It's just like when I enjoyed Lampard fail there, and I enjoyed Lampard failing at Everton. I enjoy seeing managers fail, yeah, when they get jobs they don't deserve. I enjoy it because I feel like that's the universe balancing things out. Like he didn't deserve that job. Like he's not that level of coach, man. Do you know what I mean? He got that coach because you know what it is. It's just like English players, and this is the reason why I'm so harsh on English players. Yeah, English players in general are so shit. Yeah, that as soon as we get one English player that does something a little bit different, all of a sudden they're fucking world class. And it's the same with Graham Potter. Like Graham Potter's not even better than De Zerbi, yeah, who's replaced him. But because he's English, do you know what I mean? And he played a few nice patterns, yeah. Everyone got gassed up and thought, yeah, Graham Potter's gonna be like the next fucking best thing. Bro, he's an average manager with some good ideas, like, okay. But when you look around world football, Graham Potter is a fucking Aston Villa manager at best.
Do you know what I think he should have done? I think to have continued, listen, to be fair to him, he's had a really good career going through the ranks. I think, though, that the jump from Brighton to Chelsea is a massive one. He should have made the jump to someone in between. Now, I'm not talking league position because people will tell me that Brighton are 7th or 8th.
But that, you mean in terms of expectations at the club, which you're right.
I
said Villa.
His next
or Everton.
Job, even at a push, a Spurs at that time. It should have been a Spurs. It should have been a Newcastle. I'm not saying they were available.
No, but you lot would have sacked him already.
I mean, Levy would have sacked him on this. But what I mean is, he needed to go to a club where it wasn't incomplete. Like you know, the word transition and rebuild is used so freely these days, Rants, right? If ever those two words were applicable to a club, yeah, it is Chelsea. New owner, new manager, new director of football, 14 new players, new scouts, new medical team. And Potter would have been not the man for that. Potter would have been good going into a club where, all right, like when Spurs sacked Jose Mourinho, but we're 7th in the league. The team pretty much picks itself every week and they just need an arm around them and play a bit better football.